so timely and creative. Can you tell me how the idea for this show actually came about?
Michelle and I were doing a lot of walking during the pandemic, during the height of it. And, no one had any idea, when TV would come back or movies, but more importantly, Broadway, because, we knew cast members who got sick, especially cast members in musicals. So I think part of it was acknowledging the first thing back would be a show that could keep everybody safe in some way. And one of the ways to do that is what was turning into Zoom shows, kind of the way we're talking now. But also for us, Michelle and myself, we know a lot of actors who are in relationships, either married or significant others with other actors. So I think what started with us was this idea of how could you do a show that kept everybody safe, but had excitement in it. That wasn't, people just talking blah, 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 because we're going to be so sick of talk. And that took us to the genre, which was, is there any way to satirize what was going on with the current events now of the pandemic and use a genre that is unexpected because it's the opposite of stagnant. Our Zoom world is very stagnant, and so it lends itself to stagnant issues like romantic comedy or whatever. So we wanted to go in a completely different direction, and that's why we chose this. But Michelle?
And zombies.
Right. Yeah, I mean, The Bite is very much based in our current circumstances, but it expands upon them in a way that, before the past year would have felt much more far-fetched, but now I feel like we've reached the point where nothing seems impossible. I mean, how did you strike the balance in the writing with keeping the show, grounded in our current circumstances while playing upon the zombie elements and adding the moments of humor and the lightness?
Well, I do know we had one medical writer who'd worked on a lot of medical shows and knew a lot about the science of it, who would bring that reality. What, Michelle?
Mary Kaplan.
Yeah. And I think the key was we didn't want people to go blather, 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 protein, blather. We want the science to at least suggest what was going on in the current day to solve the pandemic we're in. So how would it be used for this future strain? Just like the song that is about the main title, We'll Meet Again, this idea that even if we get out of this crisis we're in now, we're in a new world where we're not hurt by the nuclear bombs. We're hurt and killed by the smallest little elements and proteins that slip into our body. So I think that's kind of where we started, was this idea that the issues are very serious, but just we've learned with Good Fight and with Evil and even Brain Dead that you have to have a lot of comedy for people not to just shut off, because they shut off like a light switch if there's not something that entertains them in some way, brings out something that surprises them.
So there's probably a very serious show to do about the pandemic, but we're also probably not the people to do it.
I mean, the moments of lightness it's what we need. I mean, we're already living through, something so traumatic. So the writing is so brilliant and the acting, and it just that's what we need. We need to, if we can find any moment of lightness, I think that's human nature to want to do that. So it's amazing to watch it play out in that way on screen. It really is.
Thank you.
And, you mentioned wanting specifically to work with theater people during this time. What was it like working with this amazing ensemble?
Well, many of these actors we'd worked with previously, and so we knew how talented they were. And we really could not have made this show, probably, except that it was in the middle of the pandemic and Broadway was shuttered, because suddenly these extraordinary actors were available.
Broadway being completely shut down and film and TV taking a massive hit, it was nice to there's something that we can do. And then the fact that we were able to do it together was kind of an added bonus. And then the fact that it was such a crazy project was icing on the cake.
And also that the Kings and Brooke Kennedy, our exec producer, really made sure that they tried to employ as many theater actors as possible, knowing full well that our industry had been so decimated by this pandemic, and we were needing weeks so that we can get our insurance. So it was wonderful that they took that into consideration. And then also just to get camera crews. I mean, literally when Brooke Kennedy reached out and said, Robert and Michelle have this idea, she was like, because we got to take care of our family. We got to, and they're meaning, our film and television and our theater family. We need to take care of them. We got to find some way to do this in a safe way so that people can work again. So, they really took great care as far as that was concerned, to try and spread the wealth.
The circumstances of the bite are, exaggerated but familiar to us. We are living through a pandemic. But what was it like for both of you being able to tell the story from the perspective of characters on the medical side working for the CDC?
Well, we had a good time because I was telling someone previously that the character that I play is a really fun Robert and Michelle creation that is kind of half Dr. Fauci and really legitimate and science forward, et cetera, and half Dr. Bricks, who is the other doctor who was sort of propagating all of Trump's disinformation and threw her reputation down the toilet. He just sort of rides the line right in the middle there, which was great fun for me.
For me, it was just amazing to have the challenge of navigating, as someone who has information to share, and decides whether or not to share some information or withhold other information for the sake of the overall panic that might happen if you do release certain information. So, it really, I really felt for people who are in those positions. And at the same time, the Kings have written an incredible dynamic between these two characters where they're both relying on each other to navigate what is right in this situation. What is the right thing to do here? And it's a really fun thing to work through.
Absolutely. I mean, what was it like being able to work with one another as well?
It was really fun. I mean, we have only really seen each other for this whole pandemic. So to get to work together on something that got us, out of the house and feeling a little bit like we were doing something that felt normal for those of us who do this crazy job. I think it was really, it was like good medicine for us. And also Phillipa was a world-class actor. So it was great to be, to have her as my scene partner.
Yeah, it was just made so easy. The greatest scene partner ever, who I know so well.
Your characters, you two, your characters are very much at the heart of the show. What was it like for both of you, not only being able to tell a story that's so timely, but being able to do that with one another?
It's tricky because we don't get along very well in general. And then Audra's pretty selfish on camera, I discovered. Mm-hmm. So it was a challenge for me, but I felt like if I just stayed centered, she came up to my level. So that was helpful.
Oh, my husband. It was fun. I mean, I think for us, it was, we'd just been in the house with our children. So for us, it was a nice sort of
diversion.
Yeah. And to play these characters who were very much in love with each other was not a stretch, very easy for us to do. But to play it in this way where they weren't husband and wife, that they were just, star-crossed lovers, so to speak. And my actual husband is Steve Pasquale. It was I don't know. I had a ball doing it. What about you, babe?
I mean, the stuff that I didn't have with you was, stop the joke. No, it was a blast. It was great. Audra and I hadn't done anything on camera before. So it was great. It was great. I learned a lot from working with her, and it was just such an interesting, unique project. The way that it was shot, and then the subject matter in the story was great, and the characters were great. So all told, it was just great.
And we had fun bringing home zombie makeup to Sally. She enjoyed the zombie makeup that we would bring home for her.
A majority of the characters, most of them, if not all, in the bite communicate with each other virtually, which we've all had to get used to this year. What was it like for you to play that out on screen?
Well, it was fascinating because I'm sitting in my living room doing a television series, and I thought, this is crazy. How is this going to work? And of course, it worked beautifully, but it was fascinating. I mean, the equipment and that we came into the apartment, and then hooking everything up and set directing. My daughter did it all. My daughter Danielle did it all. She gets all the credit. She was set decorator. She was part of the camera. She was the audio. She was the lighting. And I was just fascinated watching her, and it proves that there are other ways of doing things and they work.
I mean, overall, it was just a ball to work with my wife. That was super cool. But as far as a project, it's just so unique. Like the way that we had to shoot it forced us to shoot it, technically from a way that you would never do otherwise. So the limitations kind of being the mother of invention was kind of one of the beautiful things about this project. We had to lock off all of these, there'd be like 8 cameras set up on the floor of the townhouse. And because we didn't have a crew next to us, it was just Audra and me on the floor when we were shooting. And the director was the only one that would come and speak to us in person so that we could be COVID, compliant. And so there's all these locked off, cameras, and we had this very unique choreography, and it gives the piece this tone of sort of being observed in a way that you normally wouldn't. So it's just super unique. It was a cool thing to be a part of and just see what people can do when their minds have to get creative to work around a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my favorite part was to know that we were putting a lot of people back to work even if it was just for a little bit. That was important.
What would you say was your favorite part about filming?
The camaraderie I found with not only my daughter, but with the directors and the camera people, because like I'm talking to you, that's how we were doing shots and, doing things, giving notes to each other. And it was fascinating, much more than when you do it all together in the studio, because you're not really asking those questions. You hit your mark and then you do your lines and everything. But this was like we were discussing all these different things and the sound and everything. And then they'd say, Danielle, can you move this over here? And so I was fascinated with everything that was going on. It was great.
Well, I'm most excited for people to have a good laugh at this absurdist take on a different kind of pandemic. I think that big belly joy will be well needed.
Yeah, it's such a satire, and I think that shift of perspective and tone can really illuminate things about our own experiences and give us a way to look at it through fresh eyes, and ultimately, yes, like Steve said, a way to laugh and have a good moment in the midst of the chaos.
Everybody thinks the first sign of zombies and civilization collapses, but nobody barricaded their doors or packed their bags and headed for the hills. This isn't The Walking Dead, it's reality.
The White House would like us to balance the needs of the economy with science. We're trying to prevent a panic.
They said it was impossible for these.
Please let me in.
We
believe that there is a new virulent strain of COVID transferred through infected bites.
I have someone coming for you right now. Behind you. Petra?
I think you're muted.
Get out of there. He's right behind you!
What the hell?
The impossible happened. The impossible happened.
The client that came over, I think he's high on bath salts.
Just keep him hydrated, keep him calm.
Zombies are fictional. There's no reason to worry.
Hi, babe.
Sorry, it's getting complicated around here lately.
Yeah, looks like it.
The most important thing is to not panic.
Shut your windows now.
I don't care if we're in the end times. Everybody has to pay their rent.
The impossible happened. The impossible